Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to recap the games I played in May 2024, give a quick overview of each game, and then highlight some of my favorites of the month. So if you're curious to see what I played, stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to use boardgamegeek to kind of help guide this discussion. You can see in 2024 what the trend has been, and you can see 63 gameplays here in May, which is by far the largest month so far this year. You'll see there's a little bit of a reason for that as I scroll in and look at the games here. There's 29 games here for those 63 gameplays, and you can see that Mysticana, a foundation deck, was 20 of those gameplays because I was playing little solo versions, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so played that a lot so I could make a couple videos for that foundation deck Kickstarter project. But of these 29 games, 18 were new to me and 11 of them back to the table again. And so I'm just going to quickly go through, since there's so many games this month, I'm not going to click on pictures for all of them, but just some of them. And then at the end, again, tell you about which ones are my favorite new to me games, which ones were my favorite getting back to the table games, and then maybe a little bit about some surprises of the month. So first up, Zoo Vadis. Zoo Vadis is a Reiner Knizia game, and I'd played this one a couple of times. But it's a really cute game. It's got great production for this recent release, and you can see it's got these nice chunky pieces. And as you play the game, you're trying to move. Let's see if I can get a picture of the board here. Yeah, that looks like that's probably a little bit better. You're trying to move your pieces up to the top, and once this area up the top here is full, that ends the game. And there's a lot of negotiation and manipulation that goes on in this game to make that happen. Typically, negotiation games aren't really my favorite, but a lot of times I do like Reiner Knizia games, and this is one that I have enjoyed and got to play it again as kind of a closer one night in one of our game nights. Union Pacific, we had a game day on a Saturday. It isn't my traditional gaming group, but another group that I was able to join in with. And Union Pacific is an old kind of stock trade game, train game, sorry, and hadn't ever played it before. It's got kind of the typical buy stocks and build train tracks and extend those train connections. I enjoyed it. It went pretty long. And I don't know that I would necessarily go out of my way to play it again, but it was a fun play. Then Ticket to Ride Amsterdam, I won't show any pictures of that, but I would actually prefer to just play the normal Ticket to Ride games versus these smaller ones, Amsterdam, London, and some of the others. I think I've played almost all the small ones at least once, and I think I do like Amsterdam the best of the small ones, but I'd rather just play the main game. Takenoko actually just played on BGA Board Game Arena this month. I've always wanted to play the physical version, and I'd love to try this giant one. You can see the difference. Here's the big panda versus the small one, and the big pieces of bamboo versus the small one on these big, huge tiles. I think that would be a lot of fun to play that one someday. It is a cute game. It's pretty easy to understand, and the BGA implementation's nice. I've played it only on BGA, so and I've enjoyed it. But it is pretty simple, not one that I would necessarily go back to often, but it's a fun game. Skyrise is a recent, I think it was GameFound, it might have been Kickstarter, I can't remember, game with Roxley being the publisher. You can see the designers here, a collection of different people, and it is a really also beautiful production, and you're trying to get some area control, you're trying to chain together some buildings. Really interesting game. I had a good time playing this one, and again, the production of this game is really top notch. It wasn't necessarily one of my favorite games of all time, but I definitely would love to play it again, and be happy to play it anytime. Go back to the list again here. Next up is Scythes. Now, Scythe is one of my favorite games, but seldom have had a chance to play it with the actual board game. Mostly have played it on Steam, and it is another one. It's been around for quite some time, but has some great production. And we played a 5-game player of this, and it was a nice battle. It was a lot of fun to do that. It's got some combat to it, and there's a lot of resource management and kind of timing the way you take your turns and whether you can get the top and the bottom actions together. One continues to be one of my favorite games, and I can't wait to get that back to the table again, although it is a game I've never played with my wife, and so I'm not sure if she's going to enjoy it. If she does, I'd love to try the Rise of Fenris campaign with her. On that Saturday, we also played Schlacht am Buffet. It's a Martin Wallace game. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. It's a cute little game with these little mice running around the track, and if you end up being last when we play the cards, then you're going to take the face up furthest to the right disc, and you're trying to get discs of all these different kinds of foods with the highest numbers on them. So in this one, you would be taking a negative if you finished last right now. So but if you take a negative one early and then can cover it up with a positive one later, it's not a big deal. Really interesting game. I think my grandkids would really love the cuteness of this game. And so I don't know how easy it is to find or how available it is, but when I first looked at it, I wasn't sure what we were playing. They were actually wanting to do it in kind of a memory of a friend from that group who had passed away in the last year that loved this game. And so I enjoyed getting to know it. It looks like we had a little break in the internet there, but I enjoyed getting to know it. Next up, Root. I have never played this game until this month, and a friend of mine who's played it dozens of times had myself and a couple of students. He's a fellow worker at school, and he's our lab manager in the engineering lab, and he's played it so much he was able to teach all of us. It is a war type game, and we just use the 4 basic factions, and I had a really good time with it. And since then, I've actually gotten onto my Steam copy. I recently picked it up on Steam and have been going through the tutorials to try to learn a little bit more about each of the different factions since we just used the main ones. But yeah, I enjoyed my play of Root and wouldn't mind trying that one again sometime in the future. I'm getting ready to move up to Washington State, the Seattle area, and so unfortunately I won't be able to play with this friend of mine locally, but he and I both have it on Steam, so maybe we'll be able to play it online. Paperback, we played this with another couple. The 4 of us had kind of a double date. Paperback is a word game. It's an interesting one where you're trying to build and sell these, or build words and buy and sell these cards to make money. I enjoyed my play of Paperback. Not one that I'd probably go to often because I don't typically like word games as much. Mosaic, A Story of Civilization by Glenn Drover. Forbidden Games is the publisher. I love this game. We played it with the expansion. I think it's called Wars and Disasters. And I don't think I liked it quite as much with the Wars and Disasters expansion, but it's got area control. It's got kind of that card play where you're looking to collect tags and sets. And we did have the fancy upgraded version. They weren't painted like these, but really enjoy Mosaic every time I get a chance to play it. Like I said, I think I actually do prefer the base game as opposed to with the Wars and Disasters expansion, but both were a lot of fun. Manhattan just played on BGA. I'd love to play this one in person sometime because I think it would definitely have a lot better kind of feel to it when you can see those buildings popping up on the board. I don't think this Godzilla is actually supposed to be a part of the game. I think someone else has placed that one in there. But yeah, it's got really nice 3-dimensional features to it. You can see here another shot of the board with the towers building up. And again, just played it on BGA. Enjoyed my play of it. It wasn't one, again, that I'd probably go back to frequently, but it was nice to be willing to play it. Mandala played for the first time, again, also just on BGA. This is just really a card game, though, where you're playing cards and trying to build up the mandala on the left or the mandala on the right and trying to collect cards. And the further these cards that you collect are to the right, the more points they're worth. And so it's a kind of an interesting push and pull game. I got off to a pretty bad start, not fully understanding the strategy the first couple rounds, and then kind of made it close towards the end. So enjoyed my play of Mandala. Would like to play that one again. I'm not sure if I would ever really need to play the physical version. It played really nice and smooth on BGA, but I'd be happy to play either. Lords of Waterdeep played the Scoundrels of Skullport. I've only ever played the expansion Scoundrels of Skullport on Steam prior to this one, but we had a 5-player game and we brought out that expansion and played it. And as always, I just really love playing Lords of Waterdeep. And it's a fun kind of worker placement. You're trying to complete these contracts. And yeah, just always enjoy my plays of Lords of Waterdeep. And it was fun to play it with the Scoundrels of Skullport expansion. Hooky, another word game. So played a couple word games this month. And it's an interesting deduction style game where here's kind of you hide your cards behind this, and I don't know if there's any great pictures. Let's see. It's just a word game, so maybe there aren't any terrific pictures, but yeah, you're trying to basically figure out by deduction what letters the other players have and what letters are hidden in the game. And so here you can see in this picture, you start slowly learning some of the letters and you're filling in this chart to try to deduce what letters the other players have and what letters are hidden out of the game. So interesting game. I enjoyed it. I won a couple times we played it, even though word games don't tend to be my favorite, but I do like that deduction aspect. Harmony is kind of a new hotness, and I played once in May. I played a couple more times since then in June, and really enjoyed it. It's a nice kind of, feels like Azul on some respects, where you're pulling these tiles off, and whatever's in a certain section, you have to pull all of them, and then you're building them up here to try to score them according to these contracts that you've chosen. And then there's also kind of a Cascadia where the taller your mountains are, the better score they are. The taller the trees are, you got trunks down at the bottom and then leaves in the top, and then the longest river, and you're trying to get the buildings surrounded by 3 different colored tiles, and so it's got that kind of Cascadia feel to it as well. So really a pretty game, and enjoyed my plays of Harmonies. Just one this month, obviously. Glass Road, it's a Uwe Rosenberg game, and Uwe's games tend to be hit or miss with me. This one has a really interesting kind of wheel here that you're playing to manage your resources, and you can see here's the game. I just played it on BGA, so I'd like to try it in person sometime. I think the wheel would be more fun to manipulate in person. It was okay. Wouldn't mind playing it again, but also nothing I'm going to run back to. EOS Island of Angels, you've seen this one on my list for a couple of months now. Been playing this with different groups of people, playing it solo. It's got great production value. It's an interesting game where you are trying to defeat the demons and take on these epic tasks and moving around this board. And it's a lot of fun. I want to play maybe one or two more times to really get it sunk in fully, all the different rules, and then hopefully can put together a review video for that sometime here in the month of June. It's been taking me a little bit of time because it is a bit of a longer game, and it's a game by King Raccoon Games and also Gray Fox Games went together for this one. All right, next up, Charms. Just a quick little trick taker, but it's got an interesting twist to it. Here you can see the first play is going to be playing a suit and a number, and then after that, everyone just plays either the suit or the number to change, but before you start the round, you have to pick how many tricks. So this person has said they're going to win 4 tricks, and they've won 1. That's what that little white bead means there. The 4 black beads or buttons are to show that they've predicted 4, and they've got 1 down so far. So it's interesting where you can change the suit or change the number to try to maintain control or to lose control, depending on if you're trying to win or not win tricks. So an interesting little trick taker. Carpe Diem, a Stefan Feld game that I've played before and really enjoy. We played this version that has this interesting path, star-shaped path where you're moving your players around and claiming these tiles, and then filling out the tiles on your player board to satisfy the patterns and build buildings and complete fields and complete ponds and things. Really enjoy this game. Carpe Diem's a lot of fun, and had fun getting that one back to the table again. Bruges, this was a first time play for me, and I enjoyed this game of rolling dice and playing cards and trying to maximize how you use the cards. And it was a lot of fun learning the game, building these rivers. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the new version, Hamburg, here in just a few minutes. So I think I'll call it on that one, and I'll bring it back up again when we get to Hamburg in a couple minutes. All right, Blood Rage, played for the first time. This kind of game typically isn't my jam, the sort of war dudes on a map battle, but this one is kind of a Euroi side of it. You're manipulating your rage here and increasing the abilities of your faction here, and different things, different parts of the board get closed off as the game goes. It does have the big old miniatures, and there are definitely battles and area control that's trying to happen. So I enjoyed this Eric Lang game by Cool Mini or Not, and it is a nice one, but again, not one that I would go back to frequently, I don't think. Played Anno 1800, another Martin Wallace game, but a whole lot different than that little mouse game. This one is definitely a much heavier Euro, where you are buying these abilities out here and then putting them into your player board here. Ships and also construction items and trying to build up a really nice engine. And it went a little long for me. I enjoyed it, and I'd love to play it again. I think it maybe be one I'd enjoy better digitally, but it was a fun play. Ethnos, I really do enjoy Ethnos a lot. It's one where you're trying to get area control out here, but you're taking these cards, and depending on the game, you're going to choose a certain number of these factions. There's merfolk and halflings and wizards and orcs and giants and such, but you're going to choose a certain number of them for the game, try to play out sets of those as you go. And then as you play out those sets, you're going to be getting area control on the board. And there's 3 different rounds of scoring, and you can see how each section is going to score every round. And you also score for the sets of cards that you make. And so the bigger your set, the more points it's worth. And you also have to keep putting out bigger and bigger sets to put your pieces out on the board for that area control. I really do like Ethnos, and actually like it better than the sequel Archaeos Society. Played it just on BGA this month, and I was a little disappointed because it kept freezing up on us and we kept having to abandon the game. So I have to pull out the physical game again and try that one. Brian Boro, High King of Ireland, a new one for us. Really enjoyed it. Played it, I think, a couple times here in May. Played it again in June. It's an area control game where it's trick taking, and you've got these interesting cards where the suits are the red and the yellow and the blue, and then white is wild. And you're going to play a certain card that matches a circle on the map. So if you like right here or there, let's see, where's the red? I don't see it. It's not in the picture, but there's a little red ring. These are monastery rings, but there's a red ring you're going to put out on the board to show which of these yellow communities, red or blue, that you're going to battle over. And then you battle over them by playing those cards. And you have to follow suit if you want to win, but you don't have to follow suit if you don't care to win. And if you win, you're going to get the rewards at the top. And if you lose, you're going to get the rewards at the bottom. And so it's a really interesting twist of both area control and some unique touches to the trick-taking genre. And then you've also got this princess track over here, and you've got this renegade track up here, and over on the other side of the board there's a church track. So lots of fun things to think through. I guess this one kind of shows the church track is over here. And so you might win on the princess one round, on the renegades another round, on the church another round, and area control. And you're trying to get area control for each of these regions, but you also want to have, at the end of the game, good scoring by having your tokens out in a lot of the different regions for that end game scoring. So lots of fun little things to do in this game, Brian Boru. It's by Pierre Sylvester and Osprey Games. Really enjoyed that one. Next up, Hamburg. So I own Hamburg. I don't own Bruges. I kind of wish I did own Bruges, though, because if I had to pick, while I do like Hamburg and the production is fabulous, I kind of feel like I might like Bruges a little bit better. I think they've added maybe too much to the Hamburg. I don't know. Maybe we just played with too many different expansions. But you can see down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the main board, there's boats that come out here. Let's see if we can find a picture of those boats. They are really nice-looking boats. So here you can see some of the nice acrylic pieces and the big chunky wooden pieces. And if you've played Bruges, one of the things that's interesting about that is that you are going to look at the dice rolls. And if you get 5s and 6s, that's going to lead to disasters. And if you get 1s and 2s, that's going to help you move up on the city council track, or the city square track. I forget what the name of it is. Oh, here's some boats. But if you add the boats, that's going to add in the 3s and 4s. Now down here you've got these clerics, and they're going to actually be the timer for the game and show you some other end game scoring. And that's one of the changes that I'm not sure I enjoyed with regular Bruges. You have these cards all mixed together in stacks, and when one of the stacks runs out, that triggers the end game procedures. Here it's just going to be when these clerics get moved down, so it's a certain number of rounds. So I did love the production, and I did kind of like a few of the different things that were added in with this Queen Games version of Bruges, with kind of an updated version by Stefan Feld. So I enjoy both, rate them both highly, but I think I would give Bruges just a slight edge. Stupor Mundi. Now this is one I actually have a playthrough on BGA on my channel. So if you're interested to see how it plays, you can. I haven't played the physical form because it's just been recently on GameFound, but here you can see it's going to be a pretty great production. I assume this is prototype, and you're building up these different fortifications, towers and walls and keeps, and you've got your individual player boards, and you're competing against each other, but you're also competing against King Frederick, and there's this rondel out here that you're moving your boats around to do trade and to pick up allies and to choose action cards. I really enjoyed this game. I think I did back it after I played it a few times on BGA. You've also got this track down here with your specialists. So if you're curious to see how it plays, there's plenty of playthroughs, but if you want to see mine, you can check it on the channel, a solo playthrough on BGA if you want to see how that fits together. But it's by Nestor Mangone, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Quinted Games, and I really like that one. I'm looking forward to when I receive the GameFound crowdfunded edition. New York Zoo, another Uwe game. This one's a rondel type with polyominoes. So you're going to be moving a elephant around here's, I guess, is an individual player board where you're putting out your polyominoes. See if we can show one here. So yeah, up here you're going to be moving an elephant around this kind of rondel and picking up the polyomino shapes, and when you hit certain spots, you're going to be taking animals. When you pass other spots, you're going to be having those animals that are in your zoo breed. If you've got, like here, 2 flamingos, they would breed and make another flamingo. And I enjoyed it. It's kind of like most Uwe games. I like them, but don't love them. I've yet to found an Uwe game that I just absolutely love. I've played a bunch, and I haven't disliked any of them, but I also haven't loved any of them. So I'm not, something about the style of his game design I respect, but just haven't resonated with me. I know a lot of people just love his games. Cartographers. I've played this one a ton. On here, it looks like I've just marked it a few times here. Oh, 47 on here. But I love polyomino. Well, I like polyomino games. I love this one. And you can see some people really go all out in drawing out their colors and shapes of those polyominoes and how they fit. I don't actually go that detailed. I'm much more of a just shading in with the colors. But you can see a lot of people really go all out. And this is an interesting one where each round you're going to be scoring different combinations, and the round is going to kind of be variable in its length too, based on these numbers that come up in the corner. So just played this one on BGA a few times this month. Really still loving Cartographers, although I haven't played the physical version in a long time. I'm wondering if once we get moved up to the Pacific Northwest and have time to play with the grandkids, if this is one they'll like, and maybe get those physical copies out again. Mystica Foundation deck, the last one here. This is one, they call it a foundation deck because it's got an 18 card deck that you can play a lot of different mini games with. And so this is one that I think is really clever in that design. I'm not sure if there's going to be a lot of great pictures for it, but I have 2 playthroughs. I've got the Cave of Gens playthrough on my channel, and also have the, what's the second one? Perils, 9 Perils. I don't know if there's a picture of 9 Perils on here. This was recently on Kickstarter, so if you want to see those 2 solo playthroughs on my channel, you can. It is just the normal Button Shy game. It's by Dustin Dobson and Jamie Thule, where you got 18 cards. Although if you got the Kickstarter, the Cave of Gens, and then there's Artifacts, I think, something, I forget the other name of it, something Artifacts. Well, not seeing it on here at a quick glance. I'm sure I'm just overlooking it, but there are a couple of expansions you can get. Well, we can look here. Let's see. Ooh, there's a bunch more than I thought, I guess. So I'm not seeing the one that I was thinking of. So there's 2 Arcana, something like that. Anyway, several different games you can play on that if you're interested. And I don't think it's on anymore, but they might have late pledge, or you can probably just buy it through the Button Shy channel eventually. All right, so let's talk through what are my top 3 surprises, top 3 games returning to the table, top 3 games that were new to me. So top 3 surprises. One was Charms. I like trick-taking games, but they aren't like my favorite. And this one just had that unique thing of once 2 cards are played down to get the round going, you're only playing one or the other after that, either the suit or the number. That was really interesting. And then having to bid how many you're taking with so much unknown, and then trying to make that happen, it was really clever. I like that one a lot. And then Schlock Down Buffet, the Martin Wallace mouse game, just so cute. When I looked at it, I thought, this looks like a kid's game. Is this going to be any fun? And it actually was a lot of fun. So that was another surprise. And then the top surprise for me was Root. Being a war game, I just wasn't ever really that interested in it, but really enjoyed it quite a bit and look forward to playing it again in the future. Now for the games returning to the table for me. So I would say the third one, probably Carpe Diem. It's not my favorite Feld, but I still do really like it. And it was nice to get that one back to the table. Second up, I would have to say Scythe. It's one of my top games still, but I think the number 1 back to the table for me, Mosaic, even though I didn't enjoy the Wars and Disasters quite as much, there's just something about the way things fit with Mosaic. It just keeps rising up my list every time I play it. And then the new games, to me, how much I enjoyed these. I would say third was probably Brian Boru, High King of Ireland. I enjoyed that interesting trick-taking and area control mix. It was really clever, and trying to time out the Princess track and the Renegades and the Church and score those when you really needed to. Really clever design there. I'd like to play that one some more. That was number 3 favorite of the new ones. And then second favorite is tie, Bruges, Hamburg. I would say a slight edge to Bruges, perhaps. Although I did just play that one once and played Hamburg a few times. And I just think maybe Hamburg is just a little bloated. I can't quite put my thumb or finger on it. but I liked both quite a bit. So that was my second favorite new to me game because they both were new to me. And then my favorite new to me game, Super Moon Day. Even though I was only able to play the digital version, I really have been enjoying that and can't wait to get the physical version in my hands when that Kickstarter project or GameFound project arrives. Well, there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed a quick run through of the games that I played in May. I'd love to hear about the games you played. Did you play any of the same ones that I played? If not, what were your favorites? What do you think about the games that I played? Do you agree with my top picks or would you have picked some others? I'd love to read about that down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. And it would be terrific if you'd choose to subscribe to the channel. That always helps. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.